Hello again, 122. In this video, we will try to go over some of the beginning reasons of why Germany lost the First World War. And as we'll see, this will be a two-part series. They really didn't lose it. And how did these conflicts then really get in motion with declarations of war? And strengthened by German support, the Austrian leaders, as we had talked about previously, they're now going to try to punish the Serbs. And they issued an ultimatum to them on July the 23rd in which they made such extreme demands that Serbia had little choice but to reject some of them in order to preserve their sovereignty. Austria then declared war on Serbia on July the 28th. Russia was determined to support Serbia's cause. Thus, on July 28th, Tsar Nicholas II ordered a partial mobilization of the Russian army against Austria. And as we talked about, the Russian General Staff informed the Tsar that their mobilization plans were based on a war against both Germany and Austria simultaneously. They could not execute partial mobilization without creating chaos in the army. So consequently, the Russian government ordered a full mobilization of the Russian army on July 29th. And then the Germans quickly responded with an ultimatum that the Russians must halt their mobilization within 12 hours. And when the Russians ignored it, Germany declared war on Russia on August the 1st. At this stage of the conflict, the German war plans determined whether France would become involved in the war. And under the guidance of General Alfred von Schlieffen, who was the chief of staff from 1891 to 1905, the German General Staff devised a military plan based on the assumption of a two-front war with France and Russia because the two powers had formed a military alliance in 1894. The Schlieffen plan called for a minimal troop deployment against Russia, while most of the German army would make a rapid invasion of France before Russia could become effective in the east, or before the British could cross the English Channel to help France. This meant invading France by advancing through neutral Belgium. And after the planned quick defeat of the French, the German army expected to redeploy east against Russia. Under the Schlieffen plan, Germany could not mobilize its troops solely against Russia and therefore declared war on France on August the 3rd, after issuing an ultimatum to Belgium on August 2nd, demanding the right of German troops to pass through Belgian territory. So on August 4th, Great Britain declared war on Germany, officially over this violation of Belgian neutrality, but in fact over the British desire to maintain world power. As one British diplomat argued, if Germany and Austria were to win the war, what would be the position of a friendless England? So by August 4th, all the great powers of Europe were at war. And this is a nice graphic of the Schlieffen plan. And they hoped to defeat France quickly. So how did World War I affect all of these different belligerents' institutions and their lives? Europeans went to war in 1914 with great enthusiasm. A new set of illusions also fed the enthusiasm for war. In August of 1914, almost everybody believed, both the soldiers who exuberantly boarded the trains for the war front in August 1914 and the jubilant citizens who bombarded them with flowers when they departed, believed the warriors would be home by Christmas. They all thought this was going to be a quick war. And the German hopes for a quick end of the war, again, rested on this vast circling movement that would sweep around Paris and surround most of the French army. But the German advance was halted only 20 miles from Paris at the First Battle of the Marne. And the war quickly turned into a stalemate. Now, in contrast to the Western Front, the war in the East was marked by much more mobility, although the cost in lives was equally enormous. At the beginning of the war, the Russian army moved into eastern Germany, but was decisively defeated at the battles of Tannenberg on August 30th and Manzurian Lakes on September the 15th. The Russians then were no longer a threat to German territory. The Austrians had been defeated by the Russians in Galicia and thrown out of Serbia as well. The war should have been over then, shouldn't it have? But a German-Austrian army then routed the Russian army in Galicia and pushed the Russians back 300 miles into their own territory. Russian casualties stood at 2.5 million killed, captured, or wounded, and the Russians had almost been knocked out of the war. And buoyed by their success, the Germans and Austrians, joined by the Bulgarians in September 1915, attacked and eliminated Serbia from the war. And this is a nice map of World War I in Europe. And here's how far the Germans got at one point. And again, this is as far as the Russians advanced in the West. And as we'll see in the next part of why Germany lost World War I, eventually the war in the Western Front becomes trench warfare.